2 or 1. It's going to look relatively the same. They're off, by the way. And that we're going to spend the first 2 worlds using the developer-intended warp barrels. And the only action we're going to see is fighting the bosses. So that little cutscene skip there, we call that wrinkly skip. It involves as soon as you hear the music start, when you start the wrinkly cutscene, you just hold left and Y. Left and B, I think. And you can just exit without listening to the cutscene. Here we are, starting in 1-1. We're going to start off by swapping to Kitty. I'll talk a little bit about the difference between the Kongs, I guess. Kitty Kong is the equivalent of Donkey, in the sense that he's large and strong. Dixie is the same as she was in DKC2. She just floats and she's small and light. Both of them getting out of the first level without any problems. Should be easy to tell between the two of them, as DNA is using the color cheat code. Luiz is not. This race isn't really going to matter too much up until the end of World 5, because that's when the Great Equalizer is going to happen. You might have heard of it before. Our boy Bleak. A couple of years ago, there was a skip found with that boss that made the Japanese version faster than the American version, DNA having a few issues with that coin there, where if you were to press start at the beginning of your death cutscene, the Bleak's boss fight, you can skip the entire fight. So we're going to pray for first tries for both of those, but that's not until World 5. We have about another half hour or so before we get there. You're going to have to forgive me, I'm not too familiar with the names, the English names of these stages. So I'm going to be referring to them as 1-4, 1-5, 2-1. Just for now. This one is probably the most difficult to optimize in World 1, I think. Just timing your team throw into the barrel. I'm looking at about a half a second lead here for Luiz going into Belgia. This boss is scary because it's very easy to softlock if you try to go too fast. On the American version anyway, or the U release. But if you try to collect the coin that he spawns too fast, then you'll just fall right through him, which is very annoying. Luiz making it out. DNA having a few problems collecting the coin, so he's about 2 seconds behind. Going into World 2. One of the things that turns people off about running this game is the fact that the first 2 worlds are relatively boring. And one might argue the first 3 worlds too, because there's quite a few auto-scrollers in the 3rd world. Hard to keep your attention, anyway. But this game has quite the cult following. A lot of people that like this game really like this game. So this is as far as you're going to go into the level that you go the furthest into in order to find the warp barrel. Don't worry, once we hit World 3 and onwards, we're going to have to see these guys actually play the levels. This level is unique on its own in the sense that it has its own timer. So there's actually a leaderboard for people who have the world record in this IL. With some records, I believe, that dated back to 2009. Back when the leaderboard migration was happening, I was the one that had to watch all those tapes. Lucky. If you remember this level when you were a kid, very long and tedious, which we're just going to skip right over. So we're coming up to the end of the section with the developer-intended warp barrels. The next boss fight is probably one of the hardest to optimize in the trilogy, especially when you're just starting out. But the boss fight is very scripted. You just have to follow the script very tightly. Your positions and where to throw the barrel. So let's see how Luiz and DNA do. About 2 seconds separate the runners, but that's easily made up. I think DNA might have dropped a cycle there. I wasn't paying attention. Yes, I believe he did. And Luiz makes it out. DNA makes it out. About 3 seconds behind. So now we're going to move on to, in the speedrun we call it World 3, which is Mechanos. But the game wants you to do that as World 4. I don't know why they put it closer to the boathouse, but here we are. So there's been much debate as to whether Mechanos or Cotton Top Cove has been World 4 or World 3. In the speedrun we do Mechanos as World 3 and Cotton Top Cove as World 4. So that's how I'll be referring to them. There are some people that prefer to refer in the opposite way, and I think that's hilarious. But to avoid confusion, we're just going to call this World 3. So here's the first real platforming stage. The cheese balls that you see being hurtled at you only have, I believe, 8 frames of hurting power once they're actually able to touch you. Once they bounce, no, I believe it's once they bounce, they have 8 more frames of hurting power. And then you can just run through them. This section of the level we refer to as the climb is very difficult to optimize because of how the ropes are treated in this game. Sometimes you'll just jump right through the rope, sometimes you'll grab it from below. There's a setup to ensure that you're going to grab it from below every single time, but it's a lot of inputs on a very tiny platform. Luiz losing Kitty right there, trying to go for that sweet little swaggy jump. That's going to give DNA a slight lead, because Luiz is going to have to bust open a DK barrel. And swap. Oh no, it looks like he's just closed the gap a little bit. This is one of my favorite parts of the level. Just do a damage boost to skip through that entire left section. And they're both out. So if you're just like me and you just woke up, now's a pretty good time to grab a coffee. Or another drink or snack of choice, because we have a couple auto-scrollers ahead of us. This one's Demolition Drain Pipe. You have the option to grab the rail from above. That does give you a slight speed boost, slight if you let go right away, but otherwise it slows you down, so we tend to try to stay on the bottom. This actually moves faster than a lot of the auto-scrollers in DKC2. So, quick reflexes are a must. We're going to be avoiding grabbing Kitty, hopefully for the remainder of World 3 up until Chaos, which is the boss fight, which is another entity on its own. Some people like to grab it just for insurance purposes, as you saw Luiz do. But yeah, it's just your regular run-of-the-mill auto-scroller. In the completion category, 1 to 3%, there's, I believe, 7 coins in this level, which you need to beat the game anyway, so you really have to pay attention there. Luiz making it out of the level, DNA not too far behind. Coming up to the next auto-scroller, which is Ripsaw Rage, or as we like to call it, Saw Your Tree. This is the one, excuse me, this is the one you really want to be Solo Diddy, or Solo Diddy, I'm sorry, Solo Dixie. Because I completely forgot what I was saying, I'm sorry. Yeah, vertical auto-scroller. Fun stage. It's actually, it saves time if you don't kill the enemies. I believe killing enemies causes 1 frame of lag. So, in this speedrun we will be trying to save the animals, not kill them. And unfortunately there's not really a whole lot we can do. But to make this go a little bit faster, in 103 you can do a zip up to the first bonus, which saves time. And there was a zip in the process for this one. But the goal flag does not spawn until the camera reaches a certain location. So trying to get ahead of the camera is not very beneficial. Not yet, anyway. There is a point where you do try to get ahead of the camera in order to despawn a B, or a DK barrel rather. Being solo Kong for lag purposes is more for the next stage, because of barrel mechanics, which I'll get into in this game. Which I'll get into why they differ in this game as opposed to the other games. So we get there, but essentially, yeah, you see Luiz will kill Kitty right there. In order to stay solo Dixie for the next level. The thing about barrels in this game compared to Donkey Kong Country 2 or 1 is that they don't actually start their rotation animation, or they won't actually fire you out until both monkeys have gotten into the barrel. So if you're a solo monkey, you're going to get shot out right away, but if you're two monkeys, you have to wait until both of them get in there. So that's the only real reason why we try to stay solo Kong throughout this world. What you saw Luiz there do was a just defend, rolling into the guy you're not supposed to roll into, but still killing him. Basically, you're going to do a quick wiggle as soon as you roll into him. That kills him. Let's see that barrel that Luiz just ran into. You would have had to wait until Kitty came into it too before you were able to shoot out. I'm not entirely sure why it's called a Just Defend. I believe the one who discovered the tech was a big fighting games fan, and I believe that's fighting game tech. Overall, I like this level. It's a lot of fun. He's making his way out. DNA not too far behind, closing the gaps. So this level is Logi Labyrinth. Another, you could call it an autoscroller only because it's that slow and boring. But with this one, the gimmick is that everything is low gravity, so you can jump twice as high and you move twice as slow. There's another Just Defend. That one's one of the easier ones because of the slow motion. You have a better chance to time your wiggle. Pretty soon we're going to see the parrot. So you might have seen previous Donkey Kong Country games and saw that the parrot's usually green, and you're going, well, what's going on here? This is Quawks. This is not Squawks. Quawks' ability is to pick up barrels and drop them, or pick up items and drop them, whereas Squawks will just shoot eggs. Luiz setting up for Vine Clip, gets it very well. We call it Vine Clip because it's the last hard trick in World 3, just like in Donkey Kong Country 2. And it looks like DNA squeezed out a little bit of a lead there in that level. Probably from waiting to have to set up Vine Clip. So the main reason why people were running the U release as opposed to the J release of this game was because of this boss fight right here. This is Chaos. We're going to be doing a series of team throws to hit them optimally, as optimally as we can. But usually in the U release, you would be infinite team throwing in order to stay on top of them. But thanks to a J tasser named Deleted, we were able to come up with this fight, which saves a lot of time over doing it regularly, which I believe is what Luiz is doing. Well, Nay, if you were here at the beginning of the broadcast, when I explained the difference between World 3 and World 4, you wouldn't be confused right now. So, there's no way to blame but yourself, and I'm sorry. There's another damage boost. Secure the hit, and that's it. DNA making it out pretty cleanly. Well, then you know that we do Mechanos third. So I'm calling it World 3. So yeah. DNA gets a 15:10, which is a very, very good exit time for this world. About 12 seconds ahead. Here we are in Baz's Blockade, 4-1. If you're just tuning in and you're wondering why I'm calling it 4-1, we do this world 4th in the speedrun. But the game wants you to do a 3rd in a casual playthrough, so there's been quite confusion. But we refer to this as 4-1. Refer to the last world that was just beaten as 3-1. Or World 3, I should say. Anyway, moving on. So, the water levels in this game are a lot like the ones in 2 and 1, in the sense that you're going to want to cut corners and not bonk anything. Oh, DNA taking damage there. Try to squeeze through there. You can. But you're basically not going to want to touch any of the corners, or just try to be as smooth as possible. You can lose frames to seconds bonking on corners here, and it adds up very quickly. I believe you want to swap in the water anyway, so DNA is fine. Come to the first waterfall stage. This is Rocket Barrel Ride, I believe. Not really a whole lot going on in this one. You're just trying to time. We're going to be doing a few damage boosts, actually. Pointing out in order to skip some barrels. You'll see it right here. There's one. Followed by some pretty tight platforming. And now grabbing halfway. Very confident in his skills. I am as well. Luiz is not too far behind DNA. Taking another damage boost in order to skip waiting for the B. And we have some nice nice comfy rolling and jumping in between waterfalls. Little team throw here to skip that entire right section. And one more damage boost. And here we are. So there's a difference in that B cycle on the U release as opposed to the J release as well. Just their positions. I don't quite remember the name of this level in English. It's 4-3. Very fun, very, very fun level to play. You're gonna want to avoid those TNT guys, they can really ruin your day. But the gimmick is that you got this fish below you that's following you everywhere you go. You're gonna want to stay above the water, except for one section of the level, which we'll see very shortly. Very, very tight movement up to it though, so I hope that they can land it. Now it looks like DNA gets it. He gets enough distance between him and the fish. He's having difficulty with those coins today, unfortunately. Luiz also getting the tech. It's pretty easy to tell if you're not going to get it, as long as you're just watching the fish from below. So this is Tracker Barrel Trek. Gimmick of this stage is that you have these barrels that follow you when they shoot you out. Hence Tracker Barrel. That little jump there was manipulation, so you can get across that gap in 2 shots. We're going to skip the elephant barrel here. The only time we're ever going to want to be the elephant is in the squirt boss fight, which is at the end of this world. Jumping into that barrel is very, very tilting. A little damage boost there to skip the section. Or skip a barrel shot, I guess. Followed by another damage boost. Trickier to line up than it seems. All by the end of the level. Pretty good run here from both of our runners here so far. So this is Fish Food Frenzy. Feed your fish, as we like to call it. Tamagotchi level. The gimmick is that you got this blue fish following you, and you want to feed him all the green and red fish that you see, while avoiding the lurchins. The lurchins will make him cough, and they'll make him mad, and if you spend a lot of time not feeding him, he's going to turn progressively more red and angry, until he just bites you. So you gotta keep him fed. Hence the Tamagotchi aspect. It's okay to eat a few of the lurchins, you just don't want to eat more than 3, I believe. There's a section where... Oh, excuse me. There's a section where you actually don't eat a lot of fish, and you can see that DNA's fish is turning red right now. There's a route. As long as you follow it, you'll be fine. But you have to think about that on top of, you know, proper execution of swimming tech, and ensuring that, yeah, you see that little wiggle that he did to make sure that the fish was eaten. There's a lot of things going on in this level, so they can be tricky to keep up. Uh-oh. Oh wow, I can't believe he didn't eat the lurchin. That would have been a very bad time for DNA. I was going to skip the DK barrel at the end here because of the lag it causes going into the boss fight. And I believe this is also the only boss fight where you don't get an extra monkey given to you. This is also the only boss that doesn't directly damage you. This is Squirt. Hides behind the waterfall and spits water at you. You gotta wait for his eyes to reveal themselves, and then shoot them. Yep. Three cycles of that gets you out of World 4 into World 5, where the game really starts to ramp up platforming. Yes, Escargot, the forgotten animal buddy. Definitely one of the stranger bosses in the trilogy. 2307 World 4 exit for DNA. Now we can finally stop arguing about the world numbers, as we're going to go upgrade our boat. So I'm looking, I completely already forgot what DNA's exit time was. I believe it was 7 to 20, so that's 13-ish seconds separating our runners. So here we're going to get the jet ski, which is going to allow us to scale the waterfall here and get up to World 5. And this is one of my favorite levels, and definitely one of the favorite levels of a lot of the runners of this game too. It's because of how fast-paced and cool it is. You want to be Dixie for this stage because her movement and climbing up ropes is a lot faster than Kitty. Grabbing halfway there. There's a damage boost we'll be doing at the end. Oh, having a little slip there. Luiz still keeping up very well. A little too slow on jumping up there, but that's okay. There's a DK barrel right there. Interesting way to end the level. Looks like Luiz caught up a lot. This is another auto-scroller. It's Tearaway Toboggan. The gimmick is relatively the same as Demolition Drainpipe, in the sense that you're going to want to, I believe jumping up and down large slopes will save you a little bit of time. I'd have to consult the wiki. But if you're at all interested in learning any of these games, I highly suggest that you check out our wiki at DKCspeedruns.com. Lots of comprehensive video tutorials and level explanations for intermediate, beginner, and advanced strats. Players, rather. Plus a way to join the Discord and say hello to the community if you have any questions. And DNA coming out of Tearaway Toboggan. Into my favorite waterfall level, personally, this is Barrel Drop Bounce. Gimmick with this level is that there are barrels caught in the waterfall, and you have to climb up the barrels. We're going to do a team throw to skip a portion of the level. We're going to do that a couple of times here. Your DNA is going to attempt the waterfall skip. Oh no, this is the first one. Luiz is going to try to get it, and he's going to get it. And that's going to give him a slight lead, about 2 seconds. So this race has definitely been very back and forth between the two, which I figured was what was going to happen, which is why I signed up for this commentary, but completely forgot. So I've literally been awake for a half an hour right now. So for those of you that are familiar with DKC2 and its spider fun level, this is the same level, except a lot easier. The only difference is that you can't make instant platforms the same way you would in DKC2. You have to press the L or the R button one frame after the other. Which can really mess up your muscle memory if you're used to being the DKC2 spider. But I digress. Here we're going to be seeing a lot of very tight jumps and platforms. Damage boosts. Very close to each other. This last section is very scary. Luiz gets it no problem. DNA gets it no problem. Both coming into objectively one of the harder levels in the game. Lemguin Lunge. Lemguins have very funny hitboxes, and when I say funny, I mean not funny at all. Sometimes you could roll into one from above and it'll kill them. Sometimes you could roll into one from above and it'll kill you. It all depends on their hitbox and your hurtbox kind of thing. But this is another level where we're going to try to stay solo Dixie as long as we can. This level suffers from a lot of lag when you're two monkeys. So we go out of our way to avoid picking up Kitty in this one. Set you up for the correct Kong order for the upcoming boss fight, which is what I was talking about earlier. So Luiz is going to get his first crack at Bleak right now. There's an audio cue that we use. So let's see what happens. And Luiz gets it first try. DNA misses it, unfortunately. But that's going to give Luiz quite the lead now. And a sub 30 World 5 exit, which is very good. And DNA too early again, unfortunately. He's stuck on Bleak. As Luiz is now making his way through 6-1. We're our guy Quacks again. And there it is. Third try for DNA. Not optimal, but he's not too far behind. Can easily make it up. If the 2-1 jumps don't go as planned. So this is not quite over yet, but this is quite the lead for Luiz over DNA right now. So 6-1's gimmick is a lot of damage boosting and a lot of really tight squeezes. What differs in this game between the other two as well when you're transforming into an animal buddy is that in this game your animal buddy or your Kong order switches every time you take damage. So if you enter the barrel as Dixie with Kitty following and then take damage, the game will think Kitty's in front. So when you grab another barrel, you will get Dixie back. In the other games, it doesn't work like that. It's always the same Kong order no matter what. So Kong management is something you really have to pay attention to in this game. So Luiz is getting himself ready for the longest auto-scroller in the game. This is Burn Your Rope. This is a long one, with not a whole lot to talk about, aside from listening to Rockface Rumble. Looks like Luiz took damage where he didn't want to. DNA had a pretty good 6-1. Because you want to enter this level as solo Dixie. Her hitbox is a lot smaller than Kitty's. Excuse me. Guess he probably did just hear a boot. I am Canadian. Something that we do tend to say. So they're both in the auto-scroller right now. Again, there's not really a whole lot that we can talk about in this level, aside from the fact that there's a scrolling background. There's 3 layers of scrolling backgrounds in this level, actually. And there's a lady in the rocks. Yep. But yeah, what is it? 1, 2, 3 or 4 layers of scrolling backgrounds. They put a lot of effort into this game. Oh, the lady in the rocks, that's what we're calling it? Okay. Yeah, it's on Luiz's screen right now, lady in the rocks. You see it a few times, actually. And DNA's right now, too. I'm not sure it was intentional from the developers, but here we are. Girl in the box. So Luiz is coming up to the end of the stage shortly. Which is good, because this is a very long stage. There it is. Let's look at the fade out. 34-21. Going into Floodlit Fish, in which you turn into the wrecking machine that is on guard in this game. He's straight up invincible and can kill literally everything as long as you're mashing the Y button. Unfortunately, it's very dark, so it's kind of hard to see. $34.21 was the exit time. Oh, DNA almost took a tumble. That would have been very awkward. 3503. So there's about 42 seconds between the two of them. The only thing that can really ruin your day in this level are the lurchins. There's certain parts where you have to actively let go of the D-pad, I believe it is, in order to make it through stabbing them. The gimmick is that there's fish in this level that you're supposed to hit in order to illuminate the stage. But as speedrunners, we know the layout of the stage very well, so we don't need those stinking fish. You're going to swap in order to do squawk skip in the next level, which was really intended to only be a U version tech, but because it saves more time in the U version due to the bird placements in the part below, which you'll see. But skipping that bird barrel does save a second or two. This is just going to be a cast of characters of the animal buddies, essentially. DNA coming out of the level. We choose to swap in the water because it's a lot faster, because there's no swapping animation. Kongs just straight up switch sides, as opposed to on land where they go through the little animation of Dixie's bubblegum popping, or Kitty picking up Dixie and putting her down. Luiz coming out of the level, going into the next big separator in times. This is a frame perfect trick that he has to land. Second try 2-1 jump. Very, very good from Luiz. And that was DNA's only real chance to catch up here, so it's going to take a death in order for DNA, I think, to catch up completely. And it just goes to show that, you know, DNA was behind for a little bit, and then he catches up, and then he's behind, and then he catches up. But it took Bleak as the big equalizer in order to make that big gap. 4, 5, 6, 7. Unfortunate for DNA. 8th try. So this boss fight is Barbos. He has RNG on his own, and also one of the trickier fights to execute properly. I believe DNA has a better PB of 47.55. Not sure if Luiz is a 47 yet. I know he has a low 48. So it looks like Luiz is going to be doing the damage boost at the end. And yes, Luiz is on 47 pace. Very good Barbos from Luiz. DNA is just entering. Gets alright RNG to start. The RNG is where the lurchins are going to spawn. So Luiz is coming into the final world. We call it Gimmick Castle. Another 9 minutes or so to go. This is conveyor rope clash, I think. 7-1. Call it 7-1. Where the ropes are moving in a specific direction when you grab onto them, so they can either push you forwards or backwards. It's another one where you're going to try to be solo Dixie for as long as you can. Because having 2 monkeys will cause a lot of lag. DNA making his way out. Another 9 minutes or so for him. Conveyor rope clash, I thought so. Thank you, Colors. Pretty good 7-1 from Luiz. DNA opting to take a safety Kong, which is a perfectly viable strat. This can be a pretty scary level. So this is RNG Caverns. The white barrels, their location of spawning is going to always be the same, but the direction that they're shooting, or that they're facing when they spawn, is random. And RNG is dependent on which frame you enter the level at on the map. This game running at 60 frames per second, so finding the perfect seed would require 1/60th of a second of perfect input, so it's not very viable right now. That we know. But this level can either go very, very well or very, very terribly, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. Luiz platforming very well. Yeah, as you can see, a world record for any percent is 46 minutes and 30 seconds by Sui Mind. Quick little damage boost here is going to propel you to the end of the level here. DNA looks like he's doing all right. Got a few seeds. A good seed here. So this is Lightning Lookout. One of the great debates are people thinking, oh my god, how can you beat a level when the lightning is so random? Well, I'm glad you asked. Lightning is not actually random. Every third strike, I believe, is aimed to kill you until you take damage or break open a DK barrel. So it's just manipulating where the lightning will strike and busting open DK barrels. So as you can see, as soon as you got that companion, the lightning stopped for a little bit and the cycle reset. But if your movement is completely the same and as tight as it is... Oh, DNA takes a death, unfortunately. I've seen that death way too many times. And it's very, very frustrating. There's Luiz finishing out Lightning Lookout. And Luiz is very much on a PB pace right now. This is Coindozer Clash. Coindozer Clamber, I'm sorry. Basically, these guys are just going to push you and bully you a lot. You don't want to be on the wrong side. Getting caught on that bazooka guy is also very frustrating. Gee, did DNA die again? I might have missed it. Alright, he gets through that section. DNA finally getting out of RNG Caverns. So now a full level separates our runners. So the gimmick with this level that Luiz Miguel is on is that the water changes your switches your directions. So if you were to hold left, your Kong would go right. And it's very frustrating and very hard to get used to. He's just making it look very easy. But luckily, we get to be the fish in order to make this level go a lot quicker. Inverted controls, though, that's the words I was trying to say. I've been awake for 45 minutes. Please give me some slack. He's grabbing halfway. I don't think DNA meant to take damage there. And yeah, Luiz is just making this level look very, very easy. but I promise it's a lot harder than it looks. Taking a damage right there is perfectly fine. DNA having a party with the lightning here, trying to get the cycles to line up so he can finish the level. Poor DNA. So here we are in the final boss fight. Castle Chaos. So team throwing over Chaos there is going to manipulate it so that you're on the other side, so the barrel is going to spawn right in front of you and you can skip this cycle. And then the real hard part begins. This is easily the hardest K-Rool fight in the trilogy. There's a lot going on. Luiz is on 47 pace, I believe. High 47. I'm sure people who are better at the game than me will be able to confirm. So here we're going to be... Oh, no. Unfortunate for DNA, he's going to die there. Very unfortunate. DNA can't be in a very good place right now. Oh, yeah. That can happen too, just clipping through the coins and dying right there. Yes, this K-Rool fight is scripted. So as long as you do the movement exactly correct and exactly the same, everything's going to be fine. So here we're going to see, hopefully, the task version of this hit. Yes, we are. Okay to me. Just going to grab the lever as early as possible, as fast as possible, in order to spawn the barrels. It saves 8 seconds over just doing the normal cycle. And this is the final phase for Luiz. 3 more hits. And we're going to see our first 47 of the tournament. And a PB. Incredibly exciting, and that's going to about seal it. 47:39. Which is a new personal best and the first 47 of the tournament. Very, very nice run from Luiz. This was a first try bleak skip and third try 2-1 jump. But otherwise, the rest of the run was incredibly clean. So very, very nice runs from Luiz Miguel. Congratulations to him, not only for getting the first 47 of this tournament, but his first 47. He must be feeling pretty good right now. And now DNA is just going to be entering Chaos. Probably going to finish with a 51, give or take. Took a couple deaths in Lightning and Coin Dozer and RNG barrels. But otherwise, he kept up with Luiz very, very, very well. Oh, that's unfortunate, but that's okay. From DNA. It's just going to be a lot tighter for him to win. For him to finish. So these credits are the longest of all 3 games as well. They're cast of characters. There is a little bit of RNG in this fight, in the sense of where you hit K-Rool and how he bounces. If you hit him in an awkward location, he's not going to bounce in the location that you need him to, which can make it very tricky. The longest of any game ever. Yeah, you're not wrong, Nankos. You're not wrong. Oh, and he misses grabbing, and he goes back. Not sure going back was the right play, but he probably just panicked. I don't blame him. So unfortunately, this is going to add a lot of time to DNA's final time, because he has to wait through this whole cycle. So you can see how much time the task chaos strat saves, especially when you have when you're Dixie in front, because you're not usually solo kitty in this fight. Solo kitty in this fight usually means that you're not in a very good place. So this is very intense, and I hope we're all watching very, very closely. Interesting to see DNA's input display. And DNA, the smart veteran he is, he knows to wait out that first cycle. Ah, misses the hit, but that's okay. And that'll do it for DNA. 51-41, 51-42. From DNA, nice run to him. And that concludes the race.